Hi guys! If you are new here, my name is Steph and I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1 with psychotic features and mixed episodes around 7 years ago. So I lived my life not on medication, in and out of mental hospitals, having 4 major psychotic episodes, and I hurt my family a lot. So I do this channel to try to help loved ones better understand their loved one with bipolar, and also this channel kind of gives me control over my mental illness. It's taught me so much. You guys have taught me so much with your comments and stuff, so please continue to do that. If you're not subscribed, please do so. I relate personal stories. I share my life with you guys. I'm back at the courthouse for Tiffany again. Anyway, so Tiffany, to catch you guys up if you haven't seen the videos about this, and you can see there's a video. I'm going to rehab, I'm going to jail. I'll put the links below. But I live in a building where there's 2 sides of the building. There's a north side and a south side. And on the north side of the building, there's a woman who I know, but I don't really know. Years ago when I first moved in, when I first got my dog, I had gone to the dog park and I ran into her and her partner. And she had said, she had a lot of dogs, and she had said, you know, I just inherited these dogs. My parents passed away. And I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment, and she was really, really sad when I met her. I felt that. And I hadn't talked to her for years. Then one day I'm in my apartment, and this has been happening a lot, and I hear screaming, and it's screaming that's been happened 2 or 3 times. So I go, I hear it, and I go outside, and I realize it's coming from a woman who is clearly in the middle of a psychotic episode. And she lives on the north side of the building. So I'm over there trying to intervene to give her neighbors some peace, which made her neighbors very angry because they thought I was making it worse. But they were the ones trying to negotiate with crazy, which is kind of crazy. So I befriended her, and I gave her my number, and I said, if you need anything, please call me. I tried to get her to go to the hospital, but she was not ready to do that. She was dealing with addiction, and her current drug of choice was meth, and so she's been dealing with addiction, and she had been dealing with a lot of trauma. So she's over there screaming. I give her my phone number, and a couple months later I get a phone call. Hi Stephanie, can you take care of my cats? Michelle was doing it, but she died. So another person that she loves died. Her partner, who was heavily involved in drugs, passed away with Tiffany's dogs in the apartment. They think that she fell and hit her head, and that's how she passed away. But so I told Tiffany, sure, I'll feed your cat. So she was in rehab for a few months, got out, was doing well for a few months, going to outpatient, everything, and then relapsed. And to catch you up on the situation with the neighbors. So what happened was, she was in an abusive relationship with her partner, making tons of noise all the time, being thrown up against the wall. Her upstairs neighbors had just purchased a home and just dealt with another neighbor who I tried to help. I'll put a link below for that video. This was another neighbor who used drugs and had mental health issues. I was unable to help her in the end. So they heard this, upstairs neighbors heard all this banging and noise, and it drove them insane. They had just spent all this money. They had just dealt with this crazy lady neighbor because Nikki was going around doing all kinds of wacko stuff in this building. So the women kind of lost their mind, the women that lived upstairs. I think they used every penny to buy their condo, and they are above this woman who's screaming and yelling 24 hours a day. They're worried she's going to hurt herself. I think in the beginning it started that they wanted to help her. But in the end, it went to, this woman needs to leave. She's psychotic. And part of that comes from, so the stigma, this part of, I want to talk to you guys about this, because the stigma is what caused Tiffany to almost end up homeless and with no one. And if I wasn't there, she would probably be homeless right now. Not that I'm tooting my own horn. Who knows? Maybe she could have done it on her own. But we all need support. So I was her support system. So basically, our upstairs neighbor started abusing the legal system to get her arrested, and believed that she belonged in a group home because they saw her standing on her front door and screaming from her apartment nonstop. Responding to voices that she was hearing. She has borderline personality disorder. She probably had meth-induced psychosis. Maybe she has schizoaffective. I'm not a doctor. She's got to nail down her diagnosis. So back to going to where I was before. She was in the rehab for 3 months, got out, was doing well, and then she got another restraining order violation, and this one was serious. She was terrified because these people had restraining orders on her, and one, they were serving her when they weren't supposed to. It has to be somebody else that serves a restraining order, and then they were calling the cops on her repeatedly every time she was screaming in her apartment. She was using drugs and she couldn't defend herself. So she goes to rehab again, and this time I take care of her dog and her cat. I had Chance, if you guys have been watching, I had Chance for 7 months. So she gets out of rehab and she's doing amazing. And then she has a psychotic break, and this is her first psychotic break that it was not drug related. And so it finally, because she'd used substances her whole life, and so when she got out, prior to relapsing, she had a psychotic break, and she started hearing those voices again. They started to come back. I'm sitting in the car with her, and she's telling me, Stephanie, don't do it. And I'm like, don't do what? And she's like, don't listen to them. Don't punch me in the face. They said you're going to punch me in the face. Don't listen to them. And I'm like, okay. So I ended up taking her to the psychiatric hospital. She did a lot of things in the process, like abandon her animals at emergency animal care because she thought that these neighbors were trying to harm her and her family. It all started because when Tiffany was in her apartment making a lot of noise and screaming and yelling with her partner, the upstairs neighbor took a selfie stick and put it downstairs and pointed it into her unit. And so Tiffany flipped out and went upstairs and pounded on the door and said, hey, mind your own business. What the hell are you doing? But because that situation happened, this spun into a massive gang stalking delusion, which means that like you think everybody is out to get you. They're conspiring against you. And they kind of were. They were all trying to get her kicked out. So what they see, because of the stigma, what they see is they see someone who is out of their mind, on drugs, that needs to live in a group home for the rest of their life. They don't see that person, as an individual. They're unable to. In this situation, these women had been completely traumatized by noise and the fact that they spent all this money on this condo. And it's horrible. It made them horrible people. And I have to be honest with you, I was thinking about it earlier and I was like, well, what would I have done if I didn't know anything about mental illness? And if I was upstairs from someone, I probably would try and get a restraining order against them. And I probably would tell myself this is to help them. And not knowing that it's not the best way to help someone like that. Getting someone repeatedly arrested is not charging at someone in the hall saying, while they're on the phone with the police, calling the police saying this person is harassing me. It's wrong. They started abusing the legal system to try to get her arrested. They got the association of the building involved and sued her. And so she had to pay $50,000 in legal fees for being a nuisance because she was yelling out of her apartment. That's literally all she did, was yell in her apartment. But these people kept getting her on restraining order. And she was so terrified of them because of her delusion, thinking that they were going to hurt her and her family. Like they were going to unalive her and her family for money. And they were going to they were holding them hostage. And these were the things that the voices were telling her. And so people see someone like that and they just don't understand, like that's somebody that can be on medication and can have a life. That's somebody that needs compassion and caring and understanding, because what happened to her is that she was so terrified, she's walking around with pocket knives in her bra because she doesn't know if these people are going to try to attack her because she's so nonviolent. That's another thing about the stigma. They believe that we are dangerous. People inherently believe that we're dangerous. She is so nonviolent. Like she was saying last night, look at my home. It's covered in butterflies and positive sayings. Like I'm not a violent person. I'm not the kind of person that needs to be restrained against. And so it just turned into something really ugly. And these women started abusing the legal system. They went so far as to bring a community officer to our HOA meeting. And the community officer really messed up and said, basically, because she got arrested again after, what happened was she went psychotic, and when she went psychotic, she relapsed the second time. After the 10 months clean, she relapsed the second time. And part of that is because I wouldn't give her dog back, but most of it is because actually, it's not even that at all. It's because the hospital did not keep her long enough and she didn't come out of the psychosis. She wasn't able to make that decision. She wasn't able to make a conscious decision because she was still mentally ill. Somebody asked in another video, because when Athena and I were talking, we were talking about how you don't just wake up and your mania and your psychosis is gone. You wake up and you're maybe like at 80% in reality, another 20% like, well, did that happen? Was that really happening? Was that thing I was thinking even real? And so it's kind of a slow process coming back to reality. And so they had her in a psychiatric hospital for 5 days, and then they put her in a recuperative care facility, which is a facility for unhoused people. And this is where a lot of people were using. And the rehab that she was at was government funded. A lot of people that were using were bringing stuff in. It was easy to bring stuff in. Like you'll see her talking about her peers, and this is nothing against people who, she's lucky, she has privilege. A lot of people do not have that privilege, and that's what I have told her. You have privilege. What you're doing is wrong. There are people who grow up, homeless. There are people who grow up in really bad neighborhoods. There are people who grow up being persecuted against because of the color of their skin. Like, you have everything available. It's wrong what you're doing. And she agreed. So I think she's going to stay sober. You guys will see I picked her up from the jail, and I said, I'll pick you up, but we have to go to a meeting. So we went to an AA meeting, and I actually stayed, which I think that's a whole nother video in itself because this has been so long. But that's the story with Tiffany. She's getting better because of stigma and because of anger and because of money, really. I mean, the ladies, one of the ladies kept yelling at me about how much equity she was losing because Tiffany was making so much noise, and her apartment had smells coming from it because she was terrified to leave, so she wasn't walking her dogs. And long story, when you're using and when you're mentally ill, you don't really take care of things as much. So she had a hoarding issue, all this stuff. But she's an open book. She allowed me to ask her questions, to be on the channel. I told her, she should probably let me, since I've given her 2 years of my life, to try to help her. It's been hard on my mental health. It's been frustrating for my husband. But it's kind of what you have to do in order to get someone help. The family can't go away. That's when somebody needs you the most. For some people, you cannot stay around because you're dying yourself. But most people, if you love the person, if you know they need you and they need your help, if there's anything that you can do, please try and do it, because we are people, we are humans. After Tiffany got sued by the association and had to pay all these legal fees, that's the first thing that comes up when you Google her name. So she tried to buy a home in a community park and was denied because of everything, the court case and everything that happened here. So even though she has a property, she was about to lose her property, be kicked out. She couldn't move anywhere else, and so she would have been homeless if she didn't have privilege. And this is how the system is broken, and this is why we end up homeless and on the street, and this is why America is so sad in so many different ways. But I hope that maybe this channel helps people understand more that we are people, we can recover. It is extremely painful and stressful on our loved ones, but when you are hearing voices or when you are believing things that are not real, you need help, and getting that help is really hard. So if you can stick around with your loved one, please do so, and understand that the mean things that they say, the things that they're lashing out at you about, if they're in psychosis, they're not real. Those things are coming from a place that doesn't exist. They're reacting to delusions. When you're in psychosis, nothing makes sense. I mean, I believed my husband was having a secret life with someone else. I mean, so just compassion is all that I think we deserve, and understanding. Tiffany bailed out of jail, so I am on my way to pick her up. I went to court yesterday and provided a bunch of evidence to her public defender. Her public defender thinks that her case is really weak, which I'll explain the entire thing to you guys later, but headed to Linwood. And we are headed to wait, I'll put you, now you can wave. Hi. And we are headed to an NA meeting around the corner. So all is going well. So Tiffany's here. Hi. And we are hanging out and chilling. I just called Long Beach PD and told them the side of the story that they haven't heard. So how are you feeling?
Hopeful. I feel like I got a good plan.
So you're going to the sober living.
Yes.
You're going to sign up for outpatient.
Yeah.
And you have government insurance, which sucks. So you're going to pay for it out of pocket, which you are fortunate enough to be able to do, right?
Right. Which is much, I mean, I used to have Kaiser, which was pretty close to private pay. And the environment is so much more therapeutic. The other issues that come into play when you're in county funded buildings, you know,
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean? There's obviously a heavy criminal background in most of it, you know what I mean? And like, I mean, not only that, but you know, like people like
Unhoused. A lot of unhoused people.
People that are like used to the street life and used to like, you know what I mean? And, like, I keep saying it.
Yeah. We're talking about the amount of times Tiffany is saying, you know what I mean. Hold on, gotta turn off the TV, it's too loud. Tom Cruise on the thing. So anyways, we were sitting here talking.
And I was saying that private pay tends to be a much more therapeutic environment than in county funded buildings because you get a lot of drama, a lot of fights happen, a lot of people get off, you know, off hinged, you know what I mean? And like people that like
what was
a lot of like theft and stuff like that, you know, like.
So you were at the government rehab place that Medicaid is what you have? Medi-Cal pays for. And they don't really have an outpatient program at all that I could find. I looked for you.
Well, it's under the BHS umbrella. Patterns. The women's facility that I was at, it's under the BHS umbrella.
But it was court ordered, right?
Yeah.
In there, like all of your peers were what kind of people? People that have your kind of background or people that have
Just
much
drug
different
background, you know what I mean? Like, so annoying. I hate being aware of it.
I did it too a whole bunch.
Okay, I have
to. But you've been doing this for a while. You just noticed though. Like today.
It's mind over matter though, right?
Okay, so next time just say, you feel me?
Switch it up.
Yeah.
Anyway, county funded buildings. It's a whole different vibe.
Yeah.
It's a whole different vibe. It's more like a street culture vibe.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where private pay it's much more. They tend to coddle you more. You know what I mean? Or give you like a.
Well, it's nicer.
More nurturing, like.
Yeah.
Environment. It's hard to explain.
It's nicer. It's way
going
nicer.
From the change of being when I made the switch from going from the Kaiser that I was on to then being on Medi-Cal, the change is drastic in the whole environment. I always used to go to the Kaiser Chinatown inpatient facility, you know, for any holds I got put on throughout my life or whatever.
How many times have you been hospitalized on 5150?
I can't even count.
So how many hospitals do you think you've been at in LA County? How many times do you think you've been hospitalized?
I can't even count.
Really?
I'd say between 15 and 20.
Oh, I'm not that bad. I'm only around like 13 or 14.
It's textbook BPD, borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
Extremely emotional.
Yeah.
And very easily devastated.
Yeah.
Like the end of the world. You know, like feels that way. That feels like my emotions are that intense.
Yeah.
That it feels like they're swallowing me whole. You know, like it's hard to explain.
I feel ya.
Feel me?
Yep. I have such a goofy laugh too. People make fun of me. I have a goofy laugh.
Here goes my breakfast for the morning. Potatoes and soy rizo and avocado with frags.
I'm out with Sebastian getting some coffee. So today the plan is to go to the courthouse again. Check this out.
From 37 both sides. There's a white port escape. Needs to move.
Basically, if she doesn't get a protection order against them, she'll just keep getting arrested. They'll keep messing with her. I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm also a musician, and I had a request. I'm really excited about this cover that I'm going to do. So I'm look out for that, because I'll have that up soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.